yes, you can will yourself through a craving. You can will yourself through a nighttime desire to eat. But what if you can get to the urge or to the root of the issue so you don't have that craving anymore?
You have something on your mind today that you'd like to share with us. I'm anxiously awaiting this story. Go ahead.
Yes. First off, likewise. Always great to see you. Always look forward to our conversations. So yesterday, my youngest son, Asher, had surgery to repair an umbilical hernia. He was born very premature at 29 weeks. And sometimes they close, sometimes they don't. His did not close. We waited until he was 5 because that's when they can close. Up until then, and it did not, but he's now 8 and it was time to do it. We did it. Yesterday was a surgery. He was very, very nervous, rightfully so. He was very anxious and about it as we were. It's been on our mind for a little bit and in the back of our heads that it was coming up. And yesterday was a day, and he was so brave. I am super proud of him. Thankfully, all is well. But, when you see your little guy who is just, extremely vulnerable, sitting there anxiously waiting to be rolled into the operating room, it's very hard. And, unfortunately, the way they do it is one parent could be with him as he gets rolled in, and you can go with him into the operating room, and one parent could be there in post-op when he wakes up. So we decided I would go with him, be rolled in, and I'm an emotional guy. I cry a lot, especially when it comes to the kids and my kids. I don't know. I just do. And Sarah, my wife, was like, "You have one job, do not cry." And we laugh about it just because, whatever. And I'm like, yes, I will try my best. I know I have to be strong for him. So I put all the scrubs on and the hat thing, and he's getting rolled in, and I'm rolling next to him. We're talking, and I'm just like, you got this. It's no big deal. I'm so proud of you. This and that. And I can just feel like I'm just doing everything I possibly can at that, even just in the hallway, to like not cry. Like my throat was getting tight, everything. And just seeing your little guy, just like he's just so vulnerable. Like it's hard. And we roll in, and they tell him to scoot off the bed onto the operating table. And they're talking to him, just trying to make him feel a little comfortable. What are your favorite sports? This and that. I'm just listening to an answer, and I'm just so proud of him. He's so brave. And then they put the mask on him, like the gas mask, whatever, and they just say, take deep breaths, and that's like 1, 2, 3, and then they get to like 9, and you start to see his eyes roll back, and like the color in his face leaves, and then once he got to like 10, he was out. And like literally as he passed out, I let out like this audible like cry. Like I couldn't hold it anymore. I just like let it out. And like all the doctors and nurses in there just like hugged me. I'm like, no, listen, I like, I'm fine. Like, thank you so much. Like, thankfully he did not see me. He did not hear it or anything like that. That was my only job. And thankfully I succeeded. But listen, first off, I know in the grand scheme, it's just a routine surgery, routine procedure, fix an umbilical hernia. Unfortunately, there's people and kids with real stuff, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. So I know that, but just to see your kid in that position, so vulnerable, I have no idea what's going on for the next 30 minutes as they fix him. It's just tough, right? And it made me think that, my only job, there was one thing not to do, and that was to not cry. Thankfully, I succeeded by the skin of my teeth. Like if he did not fall asleep on number 10, he would have heard it. I mean, he was probably passed out, kind of doozy anyway, whatever, drowsy anyway. But like I made it by the skin of my teeth. And I think when it comes to our health and fitness, we often think about this one thing. If I could just not eat after dinner, if I could just not eat in the middle of the afternoon, like just one thing. And it's all about resistance. Don't do this, right? Resist that. And as we know, the more we resist, it persists, right? Because it's like the old, if you don't think about a white polar bear, our brain backfires and we fixate on this polar bear. If we're trying not to eat this, whatever it is, let's say ice cream, we fixate on it and ice cream is all we think about. And I think that is wrong when it comes to our health and fitness. I think in this case, it was good advice and I knew it to be true. Do not cry. You got to be strong. Like, you got to hold it together, brother. Like, I just got to do it. I can't let him see me cry because that's just going to make him worried, right? And I knew he was fine. I knew he would be fine. But like, again, for me, just seeing my little boy in that state, it's heartbreaking. But when it comes to our health and fitness, I think the old adage of just like, don't do this is wrong. And there's a far more effective way.
All right. Well, what is it? What is the far more effective way?
I think instead of focusing on resistance and not doing whatever it is you don't want to do, I think it's a very simple reframe and shift of asking yourself, why do I want to do this? Why do I want to eat ice cream? Why do I want to eat cookies in the middle of the afternoon? Whatever it might be. Because again, whatever you resist persists. It's far more effective to think about why you really want to do that. What is that behavior allowing you to do? What is it providing you? How is it serving you? And when you start to ask those types of questions, that's when the real magic happens, because you don't have to will yourself and white knuckle those moments anymore.
This is really a shortcut opportunity, if you think about it, Adam, because I think a lot of times clients come to us, and no doubt we all have very tangled relationships with health and fitness, food, our bodies, our families, our friends, our work environments. But if you think about clients you've worked with, like, I'm running kind of through my Rolodex, right? And it's like, generally we can pinpoint a handful of things that are kind of roadblocks, tactical, actual, tangible roadblocks in perhaps their diets or their fitness or their sleep routines or their stress routines, right? We can say, oh, if we could change these particular things, then we would see progress. We would see you moving closer to where you want to be. So I think for anybody listening, like if you could say, like if you could ring up Adam and be like, hey, Adam, if I could just give up my bag of chip habit every day, I would make progress. Here's the shortcut. Okay, well, why do you want to eat a bag of chips? That's it. I love this because I really think this is the shortcut to progress. Identify the roadblock. Well, it's the bag of chips I eat, or I overeat dinner every night, or I have, 2 pastries with my morning coffee in addition to breakfast, whatever it is, right? Okay, great. We've identified it. Why do you want those things? What do they give you? And now we got a little work to do. There's a need there that we're trying to meet with these behaviors. It's not working. So I love that. I think it's a really, really sharp and smart shortcut. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's interesting, though, because I do think some people think the shortcut is just to use willpower and just, if I can just get through tonight or if I can just get through tomorrow. But when we often talk about like how the good stuff might take a little longer, but it's a lot easier in the end, this is exactly what we mean, right? So yes, you can will yourself through a craving. You can will yourself through a nighttime desire to eat. But what if you can get to the urge or to the root of the issue so you don't have that craving anymore, right? It might take a little work up front. It might be uncomfortable. You might have to prod a little bit, deal with some uncomfortable stuff. But once you get through that, it's so much easier. You don't have to use willpower or white knuckle it anymore.
It's true. It's true. And I mean, those changes happen really fast once you identify what's in the way and why it's in the way. The changes can happen really, really fast, like in the grand scheme of things. I've seen people take action on that work very quickly, very quickly. And whereas with willpower, like you were talking about, sure, in the moment, it might seem like the shortest route to your outcome, But you leverage that night after night after night, or afternoon, back to back to back, you're going to burn out really fast. It's like a short, fast fuse.
Yeah.
And then, so.
Yes. And yeah, I just think it's so effective when you just start asking yourself why. And one of the key things is understand your triggers, right? When you start understanding your triggers and what's driving your behaviors and what's making you want those things, then you can start working on different responses to those triggers with your coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big believer in daily coaching and accountability for many, many reasons. But one of the reasons is we can identify those triggers and then work on different responses to those triggers. And because the feedback loop is so rapid, right? Every day you're in communication with your coach. We could try different things, right? We could try this thing. We could try that thing. But
Yep.
I think just instead of next time you have this craving or this urge to eat, don't just try to push through it. Yes, you can do that, but I would encourage you to focus on why, because that is the start of changing your relationship with food. And when you have a different relationship with food, when you're not using it as a coping mechanism for whatever is going on, it could be happy things, sad things. We all use food in different ways. When you change that, it becomes almost effortless.
It really does. It really does. And I think, one thing you can ask yourself, and listen, we do talk about cravings in the moment, Adam. But also, like, a lot of us know, like, where are we using food? Right. And so I think it's even more powerful if you can start that work before you get to that moment. Right. Like, one of the things that we have our clients doing is logging every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's right there on paper or on the computer or on your phone. Right.
Right.
But look, like, you can look at your meals and your snacks and you can know this was definitely a moment where I used food. And do it outside of, I would say, do it outside of the moment of craving or the moment where you're using willpower, and try to, like, give yourself a little space to sit and think about it for just a moment. Does not have to be hours of exploration, by the way.
Right.
Right. Or, like, if you are working with a coach and they haven't said something, or maybe they have, or whatever, have a conversation like, hey, I know I'm using food here. Help me explore why. Right.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this, I think this is the challenge for the week, Adam. Like, I know a lot of people out there already know. They already know when and where they're using food in their day, if they are. Okay, let us know. Send us an email. I use food. Here's what it is. Here's when it is. I'm asking myself why. Why do I want it at this time? And here's the answer.
Right. And
What's next?
Let us help you work through it. I mean, that is one of the benefits of a coach, is we can help you work through it and help you see what you can't see and help you stick with it. Because, unfortunately, at first, these cravings and these urges, they're pretty intense, right? But when you start to understand why and what's going on, it's a lot easier. So I love the challenge for today. So you want to just re-share it or say it again?
Yeah. So email Adam. Say, hey, Adam, heard your latest podcast. Here's what I got for you. I know I use food when X. So it might be morning, evening, afternoon, whenever. What is it? And then we want to know why. Why do you want that food? Mm-hmm. What does it give you? Right? And it might be something like, well, I just love crunch. Cool. What about crunch? Right? Whatever it is. All right. So we want to know when, what the food is, and why. And then we can start helping you unravel it a little more from there.
Yes, that is the start. And it is, unfortunately, an iceberg, but that is the start and the tip of changing your relationship with food. And I will give you a hint, as we've alluded to. It is never about the food. It is about what the food allows us to avoid and or the void it fills. So when you're thinking about why, and some of you might say, I have no idea why, try to think about that. It's never about the food. It's about what the food allows us to avoid and or the void it fills.
Absolutely. All right, Adam. Well, thanks so much for sharing with us about your son's surgery. I'm so glad to hear it went smoothly. I'm glad that you succeeded in your one job, Adam.
Barely, man, barely. Oh God. And I was even laughing, like I was crying, but then I'm sorry, like, I know he's fine. I trust, like, it's just, I'm an emotional guy. I don't know. That's the
That's
bottom
all right.
line.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Don't change it. Don't change it. We love you for it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Until next time, take good care.